Welcome to Wisdom Woman podcast. I believe that it's in constant change and growth, not in perfection, that we find happiness. In this podcast, I'm going to be talking with top performance professionals about tools, techniques, new ideas on how to develop your communication skills, use your creative thinking, be a team player, manage your tasks like a pro, be motivated, become an expert on relationships, and a problem solver. Everything you need to be 5 stars in all areas of your life. My intention is to help you develop your skills and find balance between your professional and personal life. My name is Bettina Meyer-Fluke, and I hope I can be your trusted advisor. Let's start our podcast here. Do you feel overwhelmed by never-ending feed of digital information? Exhausted by the pressure to keep up with the latest app and programs? Or even somehow less connected to friends, family, and colleagues who are scattered across social media? It seems like all of us are suffering from technology tension, digital dementia, or app anxiety. Relax, you're not alone. Today we're going to talk with a specialist in this field, Andrea Bazois. I met her 4 years ago at the Fort Collins Chamber when she was launching an amazing training that tended to help people feel more confident with technology. Andrea Bazois is the owner of Every Human. She's a human resilient activator, which means she works with individuals to identify and dismantle the practical and personal barriers that keep people from thriving in our ever-accelerated future. She serves as a business consultant through her company, Every Human, and is also a technology columnist for Culture magazine and a passionate advocate for a natural, toxin-free lifestyle that supports people and the planet. She's based in Colorado, but has additional ties to locations across the country and around the world. If you have a love and hate relationship with technology, this podcast is for you. Andrea has an international background because of her French husband, like me, and that's one of the reasons I admire her so much. So welcome, Andrea, my international friend, to our podcast today.
Thank you so much, Bettina. Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
So as you might remember, I work with Salesforce for a long time. I'm a Salesforce specialist, and I've been involved with technology since 2008. Salesforce is one of the most innovative companies in the world, only losing for Tesla, and Tesla uses technology. And I have to confess, even myself, I feel overwhelmed too with technology. Mm-hmm. Why don't we start talking about overwhelm, Andrea? What is your perspective about overwhelm and how this can help or not with our problems with technology?
Yes, it's probably the root of the problem is that emotional, physical experience of overwhelm. So when you experience overwhelm, normally what your body is telling you is, I am not safe. I'm not okay. I don't have the resources and the capacity to handle what's in front of me. And when you're in that space, your body is stopping your brain from learning anything else. You cannot learn when you're afraid. And so, and this is an ageless problem. So, the most of the time I help people who are older adults struggling with technology. And the reason this demographic is because a lot of times it's this population who looks at themselves and says, I'm too old to learn this. I've missed the boat. It's the young people who get it. I'm too old, so that's why I don't get it, which is incorrect. And so I'll go into that in a little bit. But this idea of overwhelm affects everyone. So I'll just give you an example from last night. My son, who is 8 years old, this is a silly example, but suddenly he was trying to close the dishwasher and it kind of like didn't close properly and it made a big clunk and he got scared. And so right away he said, oh, it wasn't me. And my husband tried to say, hey, what's going on? Or why are you being defensive right away? But he couldn't. My son was being really defensive right away because his body, his nervous system was triggered. and he didn't want to get in trouble. And so he can't think and be logical and say, oh yeah, you're right. If I close it this other way, it's going to work. Work through the problem. He couldn't do that. He couldn't even see the problem because he got scared and triggered. So this happens anytime we experience something novel and new, unfamiliar, something out of our comfort zone. We can get triggered to say, oh, it's new. But what's the difference between somebody who is experiencing overwhelm and somebody who says, oh, something new, that's interesting? The real difference is in their self-concept and how in the story and the thoughts they're saying about themselves. So if they're, experiencing this new thing, so let's just say it's a new app. And I'm right there with you, Bettina. I also consider myself pretty techie, and also frequently these days I'm faced with the same exact feeling, like this is something new. I don't get it. And I especially because I see myself as techie, I have these thoughts like, I'm supposed to know this. This shouldn't be so hard for me. I feel stupid. I feel I don't know where to go for help. I don't even want to ask for help because it's embarrassing. I have all those same thoughts. And what it boils down to is I don't feel like I'm okay. If I can't get this, there's something wrong with me. So when you're in a situation like that, where you're triggered, where you're kind of, your body, you can feel it somatically. You can feel your hands start to tense and your palms are sweaty and your neck gets tense. When those things happen, it's really important to take a breath, a true breath, not just like metaphorically, like really open your lungs, take a few deep breaths. It even helps to have somebody, if you have somebody at home, give you a firm hug that will actually regulate your nervous system. And if you can't get a hug, just squeeze yourself, just squeeze your body and just, tense your muscles, relax them. Just try, because really your nervous system has become triggered and it's not your fault. This is your lizard brain protecting you from things that might hurt you, right? And so this is how you're built. It's normal. This is a natural thing that happens. And so tense your body, relax your body, and then choose some thoughts that are going to be more helpful and beneficial. Like, I've done hard things before. I'm capable of hard things. I'm a great learner. If I fail at this, I just fail at this. I can always try again. So I have a whole metaphor as to how a person can get to that point, and that's the ability mindset matrix, which of course you know about. But I'll wait for your cue to go into that, because that's a whole deep dive. But that's the short answer is you have to acknowledge that you're human and you have a nervous system, and your nervous system has been triggered, and it's normal. And so it's the thoughts you say to yourself that are going to turn that around. But first, you literally just have to get a hold of your body. Just feel into your body until your body can relax, and then you can learn something new. And it just takes a breath or two.
Thank you. I love your explanation. Yes, I would like to recap what is my understanding about overwhelm, and it's totally aligned with what you said. Overwhelm is an emotion, and we think that the things that are happening around us are causing the overwhelm. And the things around us are not causing. What's causing the overwhelm feeling is the thoughts that we have about the circumstances. Those thoughts are going to create feelings in ourselves, and those feelings are going to generate actions and results. So if you're stuck with technology, maybe you're thinking you're not capable of, then you're feeling something, oh, I cannot act. And then the results are that you are not going to improve. So changing the way you think will make the difference. That's what you said. I totally agree with you. Mm-hmm. And what happens when people feel overwhelmed normally, four things that can happen when you feel overwhelmed is like having the black and white thinking. Like, I'm only going to do this if this happens. This is really bad. Mm-hmm. And the should thinking, oh, I should be doing this. I should be updating my things. I should be checking my social media. or have the perfectionist thinking, oh, I only can do this training if I start reading the whole manual from the beginning. That's not true. And also people pleasing thoughts. So it's very important to pay attention if you're doing one of those four things, and because those four things will keep you on overwhelm. And what do you think can help people get out of overwhelm besides breathing and thinking different? What is your opinion, Andrea?
Well, I want to jump into something you just said. So those four examples, perfectionism, and help me with them. Perfectionism,
Black
people
and white,
pleasing, black and white thinking,
and should thinking.
and should thinking. All four of those things, I would say, very firmly fall into the category of a fixed mindset. So it was Dr. Carol Dweck who came up with this idea of growth mindset versus fixed mindset. And so she wrote a book about it. And I actually used her theories to kind of lay over another one of my theories, which is called the ability mindset matrix. So if you can imagine a y-axis, up and down, and an x-axis, right to left. So what happens for a lot of people is they get stuck in this fixed mindset. A fixed mindset basically says that all the knowledge that I have and all the abilities that I have and everything that I have right now is what I was born with. I was either born smart or dumb, capable or not capable, talented or not. It's just the way I am, and it can't be changed. And in fact, everything that I want to learn, I can probably learn in a textbook or encyclopedia. History is fixed, knowledge is fixed. And so if I'm failing at something, that means there's something wrong with me, right? It's very personal because everything is fixed. And so it's just, I'm not smart enough. I'm not talented enough. And that, again, can cause that feeling of overwhelm, where we want to change our mindset. If we can, like you said, our thoughts make all the difference. So if we can move over to a growth mindset. So a growth mindset recognizes that our brain is plastic, just like our muscles. If you lift weights all the time, your muscles are going to change, your body will change, and it will get stronger. The same thing happens with our brains when we're challenged. So when you're experiencing a challenge, something that's outside of your comfort zone, you can celebrate that because you're actually, linking up new neurons. You're actually making your brain stronger. And it's plastic and it can change at any age. It's not just little kids who can learn. Anybody can learn. And so just knowing that is very exciting. And also knowing that information changes. If you think about, if I were going to go back in time to the 1990s and get a computer, I would go to, Windows 95, and I'd have my word processor, and, there's all these different commands I might use and things that we don't use today. Those things changed. And so a person with a fixed mindset says to themselves, oh my gosh, if I have to learn new technology, I have to go back to Windows 95 and start from scratch. And there's no way I can do that. It's too overwhelming, and I'm not capable. So I'm not going to be able to do that. I'm actually going to jump ahead in my model. People can actually visit, if they want to see the entire model, I'd encourage them to visit my website. It's everhuman.io. I give a whole training on the ability mindset matrix, but I'm going to give you, here's the cliff notes here. So spoiler alert, the cliff note is what we want to do is be like a chef. So if you think about how does a chef learn to cook? Well, they don't go back and read every cookbook that's ever been written and study them and memorize them and do them exactly the same way. No, you actually start by doing really simple things. Like when you first learn to cook, you make a peanut butter sandwich or scrambled eggs or toast or spaghetti, right? You start with the basics, just how to boil water, how to make toast. And, so little by little, maybe you started making pasta, and then eventually you say, I wonder if I could make my own pasta sauce, right? I wonder if I could add some different spices to this. So you go along and you cook, and one day, and you got to eat every day. So most of us cook at some point, right? Everybody has some level of experience cooking. But one day you burn the food. You don't then say to yourself, I'm never cooking again. Last time, see, I failed. I failed at cooking. Never going to happen again. Well, no, you have to eat tomorrow. You have to feed your family. So you're going to say, I see what I did. I think I turned it up too high. Next time, I'll turn it down lower. right? No big deal. You don't beat yourself up. You don't say, I'm never doing it again. You learn from that one little mistake. You don't take it personally and you move on, right? That's how we learn anything new, especially when it comes to technology, because it's always changing. So the way to learn new things, I always say, is put on your chef hat, because a chef takes risks all the time, or even a home cook, but they're just little risks. And if you screw up, meh, you try again next time. It's really not a big deal. It doesn't mean you are a bad cook. It means you turned up the heat too high this time. Next time it'll be lower and you'll move on.
I
Well,
love that concept. Yes. I think to get out of overwhelm, the first step is take actions. So, for example, what someone can do is decide, I want to start learning about Instagram, for example. Choose one task, commit to spending a certain amount of time on that. I'm going to take a look on Instagram 15 minutes a day, and then constrain to only that task. Don't think about being an expert in social media, like Instagram for 15 minutes a day. And ignore all the distractions around you. Find a partner, someone that would be willing to do this with you. For example, a friend that's also struggling. Say, let's try together, and then we exchange what we learn every day. So constraint and discipline is the key to make it happen. Don't think to dominate everything at once. Just do it one step at a time.
No, I agree with you. Absolutely. Yeah.
I was taking a look on your website, and I love to see what you wrote about being not tech savvy and how this can impact cyber crimes related to this pandemic. What is your point of view on that, and how people that are not tech savvy can prevent for something to happen?
Such a good question. So first of all, calling yourself not tech savvy, I hope people stop using those words against themselves, because again, it goes back to the self-concept of I am not right? I am not tech savvy. And so you make that story on yourself, and then it makes it really hard to learn, because every time you have a challenge, you say, well, it's because I'm not tech savvy. Right. And this makes it really difficult. So, but for those who are experiencing struggles, I would say one of the most common things I hear from my clients are, when I tell them it's really important for you to have strong passwords, they say, oh, I don't have anything anyone would want to steal. I hear that all the time. Who would be interested in my life? Who would want to hack into my stuff? I'm nobody, it's nothing interesting. But that's exactly why such people are targets. Right. And so it's the people who say, oh, I'm not that interesting, and I'm just little old me who wants to hack into my life, that actually can make you a victim of cyber crimes. And so if I had to give just one piece of advice for those who feel like, oh, I probably need some kind of protection, it would be to look into getting a password manager. So a password manager is basically just a piece of software. There's lots of different ones out there. The one that is my personal favorite is called Dashlane, Dashlane. It's the one that I've used for years, but there's OnePass, LastPass, even, people who are Apple users, iPhone users, there's Keychain. There's all kinds of different password managers out there. So you can go ahead and do, your own research to find the one that works best for you. Normally they cost something. They're not very expensive, and it's definitely worth the money. But the idea behind a password manager is that you actually create just one very strong password. And so you can, it can be a combination of numbers and letters and characters, nothing that's a word. But something kind of complicated, but that you're going to memorize. And at first you'll have a little piece of paper and you have to, plunk it down every time. It's not always easy. Over time, you'll memorize it because it's the one password you ever have. So the one password is like the lock and the key to get you to all the other passwords. And the job of the password manager then is to come up with a new password, a complicated password for every single account you have. And the average user, boy, I haven't looked at this stat actually in a couple of years, but as of, I think, 2018, the average user had something like over 200 different accounts registered to a single email address. And I know I have more than that, believe it or not. And, they just add up. You have an account for everything, every single thing you do, your grocery store loyalty points, your bank, your credit card, your, everything, your kid's school account, everything is a username and a password. And if you're reusing those, it's a perfect way for a hacker to get into your life. So using a password manager is just the number one piece of advice. If people only did one thing, that would be it.
I will take your advice. I use Tap Forms to manage all my logins. I have 309 login access, 20 email accounts, but I don't have a password manager. I use this program and it's almost the same password for everything. And Google is always sending me message, your password is not safe enough. I will take your advice. Thank you for all the tips.
For
so
sure.
That's LastPass, OnePass, and Keychain.
Yeah. And I teach all about this, and I have an online course called Triumph Over Technology, and that's also available on my website. And that's, this course is really important to me because I feel like it's a comprehensive look at all those different things to make your digital life easier. So this is something that I definitely would love people to check out because it does cover things like security and managing your photos and all kinds of things.
Thank you. I read once a book that I love so much that's called The Confidence Gap. And I would like to listen to your opinion. Why do you think people lack confidence in regards to technology?
That's a really good question. I think it's two things. On one hand, it is this narrative that we have about older adults. And again, I'm putting myself in that category too. I'm in my 40s and I always say I'm middle-aged. It's like anyone who's not in their 20s, I would say, can put themselves in this category. And there's a narrative out there that the youth are good at tech and older people are not good at tech. That's the narrative, even though it was the baby boomer generation who invented all of this stuff in the first place. So this whole, like that okay boomer expression or meme, it's really unfair, but it can hurt. And it can really, if you hear that enough, it's hard to ignore and it's hard not to feel that that might be true. But the other part is the self-talk, right? We know that those kind of outside critiques can't hurt you if you don't agree with it, right? It's only when you place your agreement on that statement that's when it can hurt you and it can affect your self-esteem. So you simply just need to decide that you don't agree, right? And your self-talk has to be, I'm a learner, I'm vibrant, my brain is amazing, it's plastic, I can learn whatever I want. So, and of course there's the whole fake it till you make it. So it might be that you do need to kind of say those things to yourself until you believe them. And you're so right that the way to get out of the overwhelm is just through action. It's the same way with, the first time you ever drove a car, or the first time you ever ski, or even when you're making a new recipe. You have to do it first before you can build that confidence. You have to do it afraid. And so, you just have to take the small action that you can, knowing that it's out of your comfort zone and you can celebrate those failures because that means you're growing.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I'm going to give my experience on how I felt with this confidence gap. It's really hard coming from another country and trying to thrive professionally. And I was thinking, how can I do that? How can I improve my English? And launching a podcast was a huge challenge. I said, why not? So the reasons we lack confidence, first of all, is excessive expectation and perfectionism. So I wanted to have perfect English to start. The second one is harsh self-judgment, such as imposter syndrome. So nobody will think I'm real. I don't speak fluent English. Preoccupation with fear. I was really afraid of being judged. Lack of experience. I didn't have any experience recording podcasts, and lack of skills as well. I didn't know how to use all the tools to create a podcast. But how we get skills for confidence is by taking action, like you said, Andrea. Practice the skill, apply them efficiently, access the results, and modify it as needed. So ask for help, ask for a coach, but do it. If you do it, you will get better. Like you said, try to learn a little bit about your technology course. I think can open so many doors for people who are feeling afraid of it.
Yeah.
Can you tell more about this course? How long it lasts? How many classes there are?
Sure. So what we've learned in the last 10, 20 years is that people are learning best these days through micro learning. And so the idea is that they aren't hour-long segments and these long drawn out lectures. It's 5 to 8 minutes of learning. And just like you said with your Instagram example, it's piece by piece, it's little by little. So there are 5 modules, and they kind of each go over a different area. So one of them is security. Another one is keeping in touch with friends and family. Another one is keeping what matters, which is about kind of document management. How do you manage all the stuff? So there's 5 different modules, and each module has a certain number of mini courses or micro lessons. So all in all, there's 27 lessons. There's a transcript booklet, so you can have a transcript of everything. Some people learn better by reading and highlighting and making notes in the margins, and so there is a workbook that goes along with it as well. But the idea really is that somebody can start this and just little by little work through a comprehensive swath of a digital life. So all the, when you said it's, sometimes the overwhelm comes from the feeling that it's too much. There's just too much to learn. I don't know where to begin. And so I would say, I've said this to people before, that everything that's in my course, you could probably figure out somehow on YouTube or Google it. But the benefit of a course, as you know this, because you're a course creator as well, the benefit of a course is that somebody has taken the time to create something in a step-by-step logical sequence that's comprehensive. So it's a one-stop shop. It covers everything in one place. And that way you don't have to go hunting or figure out what it is that you don't even know you don't know, right? And so that's what the course offers. And I originally priced it for $249, which I would say is well below what you would find in a college classroom. But since the pandemic, I really felt like I didn't want money to be a barrier for anyone who wanted to learn. I think access to technology is a right, and one that everyone ought to have. And so right now, and at least through the end of this year, through 2021, it's available as a pay what you can model. Hopefully people pay the value that they see in the course, but it's really, I don't want money to be a barrier to anyone. So I do encourage everyone to just check it out.
Yeah, I will be one checking it out. I really love the security part.
Good.
And I think the epidemic brought a lot of loneliness as well, not only the COVID problem. It's so important for people to learn how to video chat, to safely use social media and communicate with the loved ones. Do you teach this on your course, and this is something they can learn from your training?
Absolutely. Yeah. In fact, I created the course prior to the pandemic. And so what's ironic is the one technology that I don't teach on is Zoom, which is funny because it's what, has taken over the world and everyone's using Zoom. But Zoom is still, I think, primarily used for in the business world or in the professional world. So I do talk a lot about different personal platforms you can use to keep in touch with people and prevent that loneliness. So definitely that is covered. I want to go back to something that you said, though, just because I think it's worth mentioning. You and I both have family around the world, and you come from Brazil, and you have a French husband, and living in the United States. I would say that one of the biggest assets for getting out of your comfort zone and learning something new and building confidence is travel. Because when you have to step into another world where every single thing is in a language that's not your own, and you have to try to communicate and connect and just survive, that takes a lot of courage and a lot of bravery and a lot of repetitive trying and repeatedly going against your comfort zone. So I just want to give props to you for creating a podcast that's not in your native language. That takes a lot of courage, and you're doing amazingly well. So I wanted to put that out there as, you are a living embodiment of closing that confidence gap.
Yes, I'm trying to get out of my comfort zone because it's so important to lead by example. If I want my clients to thrive, I need to be the one doing it. So that's why I'm doing this podcast. That's why I'm exercising, eating healthy, because how can I teach something that I'm not doing? And I have problems with technology. I have to confess, it's not easy to dominate all the CRMs, the email campaigns, the social media, but it's important. It's part of our lives. And I'm doing it. I'm doing, everybody can do it, I can tell you. And
Yeah.
another book that I would like to recommend that really opened my eyes is The Compound Effect. This book really gave me a little bit of peace of mind that if I do a small action every day, I'm going to get there. So I'm building my confidence by doing small actions, by doing exercise a little bit, 30 minutes every day, and dealing with technology once a week, learning something new. And I think this book really can give you peace in mind that you're going to get there.
Oh,
Like
it's
a
very true.
compound
Yeah, they
effect.
say consistency compounds, and it's true. You don't see the results in one day. You don't eat a carrot and say, "Oh, I'm healthy now." You have to eat well every day, and do your best to have that consistency, and it will compound. The effect will compound.
So I would like you to tell everybody your LinkedIn profile, because you have so many things about mindset, technology, digital skills over there, and people can interact with you on LinkedIn. Can you tell them how to find you on LinkedIn?
Sure. Well, so if you're on LinkedIn, you would just search for my name. It's Andrea, Andrea, and my last name is Bazouin. It's Bazouin. So I don't think there's any other Andrea Bazouin out there. You'll see me. And yeah, please do get in touch. The other place is just my website. So everhuman.io is the best place to learn about the technology resources that I've shared today.
Thank you so much. I will put everything on the description of the podcast. So don't worry if you didn't have time to write down all those links. I will post on the podcast description. And if you want to learn how to do your own social media strategy, you guys can get in touch with me on my LinkedIn profile or my website, witchy.tech, and schedule a strategic coaching session. I can tell you everything you need to establish your social media presence. It was wonderful having you here, Andrea. I admire you so much. When I grow up, I want to be like you, be able to record videos, not only podcasts.
Thank you for having me. I really had a wonderful time. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to Wisdom Woman Podcast. To hear past and future episodes, please subscribe to the show on your favorite podcast channel. We appreciate your reviews. To give us suggestions for future show topics, please write to us at podcast@witchy.tech. If you're interested in having me as your trusted advisor, schedule a strategic coaching session on my website, www.witchy.tech.